century Jewish rebellion. The Romans came in there, completely crushed them, deported them, sent them around, sent them all over the place, and in order to just completely destroy their national identity, just rename the place.
Powerful. Jews have consistently referred to the place as Israel, as land of Israel. They never adopted the naming of Palestine, except that they used it here and there
For themselves.
In international correspondence when talking about the land to make it easier. Especially the secular population adopted the naming of Palestine and referred to the place as Palestine because that's what the Romans named it, and that's what came to be known as the region's name in Western culture because of the Romans. So, for example, when Theodor Herzl wrote his proposal to re-establish the Jewish state, he referred to the place as Palestine, and so that came to be used. However, Jews refer to the place for over 2,000 years, for 3,000 years, as Israel, as land of Israel. That never changed.
Hey, you see, who was that? Was that Kim Iverson was saying? No, that was someone else. No, it was you had your discussion with Kim Iverson, and some other chick was saying that Jesus couldn't have been a Jew because the modern word Jew didn't come out till like the 1700s. Because before that, the J was an I, right? The J was an I, right? And so I responded to her just in a comment, but I just said, following your reasoning that Jews did not exist before the 1700s because it was spelled in English, it was spelled with an I back then instead of a J. I said, following your reasoning, Jesus didn't exist either because Jesus in Bibles from like the original King James Bible, also spelled Jesus with an I. Yeah. And therefore, Jesus didn't exist.
They do this stupid thing. I mean, Kim Iverson is the one who repeatedly goes on there and says, "Oh, Jesus was not a Jew, and I can prove it." And then whenever somebody challenges her, she suddenly disappears. She said, "I will debate this with anyone, anytime." I saw that.
And you said,
I challenged her, and my inspiring philosophy, Michael Jones, also challenged her. She ignored both of us so far. But I keep texting her, and also I will post every day now from now on.
Day 77, waiting for Kim Iverson to debate like she said she would.
And she referenced that other woman who made that long post, which is just completely ahistorical nonsense, which says that Jesus was only referred to as a Jew at around 1775. Before that, no Bible ever referred to him as a Jew. And the thing is, it's just so dumb.
They just spelled it differently. They spelled it differently. And since the spelling change, and that happens over time, since there was a spelling change, therefore Jews were invented as a people when there was a spelling change. When the spelling change.
Even the spelling, even a J was even used for that long before.
I saw you found one in like the Wycliffe Bible or something like that.
Yeah, the John Wycliffe Bible has Jews, but they pronounce it as like a kind of a mix of like a like a yay and J sound in the middle of it. But that was in the 1300s. 1386 or 87. That's when it was in John 4:22 is directly translated there in that Bible as ye worshipen that ye know not, we worshipen that we know, for health is of the Jews. Mm-hmm. That's 4:22 in 1387. These people are talking complete garbage.
The problem is it's the same thing that I talk about when I talk about the Islam's 99-1 rule, where you'll have someone like Zakir Naik, and he knows that if he says something, 99% of the people are going to mindlessly agree with him, and less than 1% are actually going to question it. And so if that's the situation, it's in your best interest to keep spouting complete nonsense, because you can build a bigger and bigger mob, which can ultimately silence or drown out the people who actually look up what you're saying and know that it's false. Well, something similar is going on now. A lot of accounts on social media that they can just spout complete nonsense, and yeah, people will correct them, but most people aren't even reading the corrections. They're not reading that sort of thing. They're just, oh my goodness, what? The word Jew was invented in the 1700s. There was no Jews before the 1700s, so Jesus could have been a Jew because there was no Jews. And they run around with that, and it just happens over and over again.
It's the pathetic thing is that Kim Iverson, for her part, she even like within just a few hours, she changed her position. Her original point was that that nobody referred to Jesus as a Jew until around the Holocaust, something like that. She went from that position just within a few hours to actually after the late 1700s, and then went from that to possibly before, but not in the same sense, and so on. These people are just. These people don't know anything. They misrepresent everything that they go into, and still, they have audience.
Why don't you debate her then? Debate her. By the way, guys, this is AP. I've talked about this many times. I've explained what happens when people feel threatened and they start clicking up with groups. But part of the cost, it's just like Qatar. If you're joining the group, that ain't free. That ain't free. You have to demonstrate group loyalty to your group that you cling to, that you join for your protection, because you constantly feel like you're being attacked. Once you join that group, how do you demonstrate your worth to the group? How do you show that you're a valuable member of the group? By unquestioningly going along with anything your group says, even if it would take you 5 seconds to know that it's complete nonsense. You can't do that, because then you'll be expelled from the group. They'll say, oh, you're not really one of our group because you're questioning the group, and you don't want to not be part of the group, and so you go along with it. And over time, you just get conditioned. Here's what I'm supposed to believe today, and I cannot question it. And you just roll like that forever. Very smart. Anyway, Kushner's Gaza Getaway says, talking about Miriam here, she was a poor Irish Palestinian who worked in the potato fields playing bagpipes with leprechauns drunk. That would be the Irish version. All right, couple of these, and then we're going to jump into this video. Uh-oh, don't let AP near a map. He'll reflexively start redrawing it.
Yes.
Yeah, fortunately, I have the Middle Eastern map on my computer, and so AP can't redraw it.
I would either redraw it or shoot it. Yeah.
Qatar gives 98% of the other Arab nations a bad name. And that's saying something, because they have well-earned bad names. Check the amount of cash Qatar invests in U.S. education. Yeah, we're going to take a look at that. A Turk and a Wingerling. Don't know which is worse. That is tough. That's tough. But I don't know where you're seeing a Wingling here. Merry Christmas, David. God bless you. Thank you. Pretty sad that you didn't include AP in that blessing, but...
Thank you.
And can you guys watch the 2-minute Robin Williams jihad video on stream before the year ends? Started asking in Super Chats months ago. Happy Hanukkah. We will check it out.
It says Happy Hanukkah, not Hanukkah.
Hanukkah. Oh, yeah. Hanukkah. Put on your yarmulke. It's time for Hanukkah.
Have you seen the Hanukkah joke? Do you know what that is about?
What?
The Syrian girl made this post in which she called it Hanukkah, HunnikaH, and said Hanukkah started when the Jews waged a guerrilla war. Something like that. It's so dumb.
Super smart. You know, it's hilarious. Right after the Christmas market massacre. Well, not right after it, but like when I first posted something about it, it was after like people were already like, hey, this guy's account, he's an ex-Muslim and so on. So I checked out some of his tweets. He sounded like an ex-Muslim atheist and so on. And I tweeted, how long before Syrian girl says this guy's a Jew? And then she actually responded to me with the proof that the guy's a Jew. I was like, you can't. And the proof, and by the way, after that, her fans were all passing it around. The proof is a Jew, you think? It's because he was mocking Surah 3, I think verse 19, which says the true religion with Allah is Islam. And this guy said, the true religion with Islam is Judaism. He's clearly just mocking the verse to annoy them. And they say, you see, he's a Jew. He's a Jew.
Wow.
There's a problem when you got people who are desperate to blame everything on the Jews and who don't understand mockery, sarcasm, joking, anything like that. It's the Jews. You see? Let's see. Jesus would teach and preach from the Torah at the synagogues because he was a Muslim, and that's what they do. That's what all Muslims do. They go to synagogues and preach from the Torah. Jesus' family fled to Egypt, so they were refugees. Yeah, AP said they weren't refugees when they're in the land.
Yeah.
Goat Hub says Turks are more physically dangerous, but winglings poison the soul.
That's true.
Gotta stay away from both as best you can, except Hatun, she's good. She wanted the good ones. Hatun, she wanted the good ones. That is an interesting point between the Turks and the winglings. There is that parallel between, like, Iran on the one hand and Qatar and the different kinds of threats they pose. And Alan here, oh, super sticker, thumbs up, thank you, thank you. I don't like your Alan. All right, guys, let's go ahead and check out this video by Visegrad. And it's about Qatar. And guys, there is a link. For some reason, this is not on YouTube. They only put videos on YouTube, but they have a much bigger, X. So if you're on X, by all means, there's a link to this video in the description. And so if you like this video we're about to watch, please share it. People need to understand what's going on college campuses and around the world with this little place, a little place that looks like a pee on Iran.
We should consider political Islam as not fundamentally different from Nazi ideology, fascist ideology, or communist ideology.
Zakat, or alms giving, is one of the 5 pillars of the Islamic faith, whereby Muslims give generously to those in need or to promote good civic works. But while much of the Muslim world remains mired in poverty, Qatar Charity, an NGO based in Doha, has built hundreds of schools, Islamic cultural centers, and mosques in Europe. But is the goodwill of generous Muslims being cynically abused by one of the wealthiest nations on earth to advance the goals of political Islam in the West? What are Qatar's generous goals?
Flagrant one is like building mosques, bringing money from the outside, and actually paying their way into creating all kinds of NGOs that are actually based here and that can access the institutions. This is the institutional infiltration.
In Croatia, they also financed a mosque that was built in the city of Rijeka. This is in some way Islamic colonialism, or they're funding the Islamic religion.
Is the main source for the money who was used to build a big mosque in Ljubljana. And when I leaded the secret services, we had given a warning that that's not good because...
I like this. We're warning, we have to give them warning because guys, what's interesting here is they're interviewing people from all over the globe. They're interviewing people from all kinds of countries, and people in all kinds of different places are saying the exact same thing. Qatar is flooding our area with money to build mosques and Islamic schools and so on. Why is this disturbing? Again, these guys are not connected to some super peaceful version of Islam. This is Muslim Brotherhood stuff. They're connected to the Muslim Brotherhood. Anyway.
There is no free land.
What's that?
There's not really much of a choice. It's all just going to be a bunch of non-peaceful garbage. Yeah, and I'm looking at Iran. Iran, because they're, as you pointed out, they're actually nuts. They've got insane leaders, and their only supporters in the country are the most radical groups that want to bring about the end times and so on. And so that makes them very, very dangerous. But
you see them coming. It's obvious. It's obvious that they're dangerous. Then you have AP's place, Turkey, because now, guys, this what's it called, the Shia Crescent or whatever, that thing's collapsing. That thing's collapsing. The influence of Iran is crumbling, and you might, in the very near future, see Iran as a nation be completely overtaken by the people and the Iranian regime just crushed. Turkey is, in my view, going to start taking the place, but it's going to be a Sunni version of what Iran was doing. But that's kind of local. Like Turkey wants influence over like the Middle East, that area. They want to restore like the Ottoman Empire. Qatar is different in that it's putting its tentacles out into the entire world. It's like, hey, we'll focus on getting the world, buying the rest of the world. Pretty creepy stuff. Let's see.
I'll be right back.
And because of that, I even got some threats with death and real big problems for me and my family. So this just shows that this is a very serious question.
Qatar Charity gains its charitable reputation from the small donations it receives from private individuals, but its major funders are the Qatari Royal Family, the Qatari Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the Qatari Development Fund.
So guys, just to recap there, people donate to what this Qatari fund is doing, but the main backers are the Qatari royal family.
It should come as no surprise that the charity's European goals reflect the ideology of the Qatari state, and its projects align with its close associates, the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda.
So these guys are building the mosque. These guys are funding the mosque in your neighborhood, and this gives them some say over who runs the mosque. They're funding the Islamic school in your neighborhood, and this gives them say over what's being taught there. They're buying up, as we're going to see shortly, buying up huge businesses in Europe and the United States and so on, and sending endless trunks of money to universities, very important universities, and demanding certain things in return. And who are these guys connected to? The Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda. Nothing to worry about here. Nothing to worry about here, ladies and gentlemen.
They dream of doing the caliphate again, and its effect. It's all over the place. We should stop organizing World Cups in Qatar and things like this and giving them stage.
A country barely larger than Corsica, with a population of only 300,000, is systematically transforming European churches into mosques, financing schools and cultural centers which promote political Islam, and backing pro-Islamic lobbying structures such as the European Islamic Union, whose stated objective is to combat Islamophobia, but which also promotes the veiling of women at a European level.
Guys, you catch that? So they're sending endless chunks of money, and you have all these. Have you noticed all these different places around the world? We have to combat Islamophobia. We need a new government agency for combating Islamophobia and stuff. And you wonder, why are they so obsessed with Islamophobia? Follow the money, ladies and gentlemen. Follow the money. You're wondering why this? Why are all these news agencies? Why is everyone just? How come after every terrorist attack carried out in the name of Allah, they say, "Oh, this is why we have to crack down on Islamophobia"? Check where the money comes from. Follow the money trail. Talk about a money trail.
I've said many times that politics is downstream from culture. So if Christianity loses its place in mainstream European culture, something will replace it. And now we have Islam on one hand, and we have internally this new kind of militant secularism that has replaced Christianity as causing many problems for Catholics and other Christians who are believers and want to practice their faith. These are the burning issues in Europe.
Yes.
I will not be a politically correct MEP. I will speak openly on these issues.
Dude, what he just said about the militant secularism, there are people who still like don't see what's going on. They'll be like, "What militant secularism? Are you an idiot?" I mean, think about this. In the UK, let's say, Muslims can just block a road. They've got a mosque right over there. They've got a mosque right over there, but they will actually block a road for their daily prayers, and traffic just has to stop. Traffic just has to stop. Meanwhile, if you are, he specifically referred to Catholics there. If you're a Catholic and you go down the street, you're down the street on a sidewalk near an abortion clinic. You're not saying a word. You're not holding up a sign. You're not talking to anyone. You're not screaming anything. You're not saying anything. You're just standing there. Police will pull up in front of you and go, "Are you praying inside your head? Are you silently praying?" And as a Christian, you don't want to lie, so you probably choose to remain silent and say I may or may not, blah, blah, blah. But if you say yes, then they actually arrest you. They'll arrest you. So keep in mind, a Catholic cannot pray down the street on a sidewalk quietly, not say a word. Muslims can block roads and so on. They're fine. And we saw that. We saw when native British people protest, they'll lock them up. They'll lock them up for complaining something. Meanwhile, you've got Muslims just openly declaring, we're going to kill apostates, we're going to do all this stuff, and no problem with them. So normally we've explained this in terms of just sort of like cultural manipulation, portraying Muslims as victims and so on. And you can't criticize victims for anything because they're victims. But you know, the regular British people, they're oppressors because of what happened, you know, a couple centuries ago or something like that. And so that's what's going on. That's what's going on, right? But there's this other component here, namely that you have endless trunks of money flowing in that are funding all sorts of causes that convince you do not go after these guys because that'll hurt your cash. Isn't it crazy that this is what the Jews always get accused of? Meanwhile, it's Qatar that's actually doing this stuff. Isn't that funny? I don't know. Yes. I think that's funny.
It is very funny.
Group that has taken most hit all around the world, and that's not good. Christian authorities, from the Pope down, they don't care. What we have to do is to have stricter rules, and mainly to enforce the principle of reciprocity. One church, one mosque. No church, no mosque.
But with the principle of reciprocity, even
I
if
have
it
a
were
different solution. I have a better idea. It would just be one church, no mosque.
Yeah, I don't understand why this guy's saying you need reciprocity, one church, one mosque. I don't know what he's talking about. Like, I mean, it would kind of depend on the area, right? If you have an area that's 90% Christians or something like that, why would you say one church, one mosque? So I don't understand what that point was.
Observed be sufficient to prevent what.
Or if you wanted to say, okay, for every mosque that gets built in Europe, you guys have to build one church in the Middle East. I say, okay, deal, bud.
No mosque.
But would the principle of reciprocity, even if it were observed, be sufficient to prevent what is going on at the political level here? In 2008, Qatari Minister Abdullah bin Hamad Al Attiyah attended the inauguration of the first Christian church in Doha. A diplomatic gesture, to be sure, but a hollow one in a country with barely any Christians and where nobody can vote. In a democracy, such displays of multicultural approval are used in a completely different way.
Well, in Sweden, we see the mega mosque in Malmö.
I have to say, Stefan here he has figured out to speak in a video, present it in a nice way. I mean, he was mostly just behind the scenes, just tweeting and interviewing others and so on. But this concept here seems quite nice, and the video is all just quite kind of professional. So Visegrad is doing a good job.
Yeah, they're going to keep.
And I think Visegrad is one of those people, one of those organizations and groups that is very much needed in fighting back against invasions by Islam.
And Stefan and his brother, these are smart dudes, man. Which is not what you'd think because they're Polish. If all you told me before meeting these guys was, hey, this is a Polish news agency. I'd have been like, oh well, I have to check that. It would be like, it would almost be like the Babylon Bee, right? You just, you expect it to be jokes.
Going to anger more people here. Earlier somebody was saying that they're now angry at us because we said some very racist and bad things about Ireland. And that's why they stopped listening to us.
That's what
I told you. Irish people have very thin skin. It's kind of weird. Like you can make fun of every European population, and they'll understand it. But make fun of the Irish and they'll go, "How dare you!"
Well, we can to atone for our past mistakes about Ireland, I'll sing my favorite Irish drinking song. Oh, the Germans are the best at war. The French got their cuisine, but no one gets drunker than the Irish. Classic song.
I also want to atone for for being offensive toward the Irish. To share the Irish spirit, I will from now on become an alcoholic.
That's good. You're gonna be sharing the Irish spirits. Oh yeah. So anyway, that was a huge diversion from what I was saying. That if you told me, hey, there's this Polish news agency, I'd be like, well, wow, I'm sure that's some bang up awesome news you're gonna get from there. Then you actually meet these guys, and they're shockingly smart. And Stefan, so speaks Polish, speaks fluent English. Then some French guy walks by. He starts babbling in perfect French, like his French was better than his English. Anyway, these guys are well educated, and that is the most dangerous thing in the world. More dangerous than Qatar. A well educated Polish guy.
Yes.
Pretty creepy.
Being financed by Qatar, we see the social democratic mayor being there at the inauguration, and one has to ask oneself, is this a political strategy of the left to actually accept this development in return for votes?
Yeah.
And what would we call that? So we need to expose cynical politics by the left in Malmö, in Molenbeek, where there was an agreement between the socialist mayor and the imams that in return for votes, they will apply a laissez-faire policy vis-a-vis these radical mosques.
I'll let you guys slide as long as you keep voting for us.
The thing is, the thing is, I see these responses and these analysis and all that, and they usually call out one certain side, the leftist side that cooperates and panders very much to Islam and Islamists in order to get the votes. But it's not just them; it is in general. Populations in the Western world, especially in Western Europe, have become have become pushovers and have become very soft when it comes to things like these. The very same people, a lot of the very same people who are very, very upset about mass immigration and Islamic influence and all that, when elections come about, go and vote for a party that supports these immigration moves. It's kind of a weird thing to see, because people, I guess, don't take it too seriously, which is why I think maybe we should find a different solution, like putting all Europeans in concentration camps and teaching them about Islam.
That's a good idea. AP is just an unstoppable fire hose of solutions to the world's problems.
You see?
You see that? You see? Radical mosques. So let's check out. I think this next guy's Spanish, and he's got a weird voice.
Por supuesto que ahora mismo el principal problema de las sociedades en la Europa occidental.
Do all people in Spain talk like this? I'm not talking about the language, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about the voice.
Yes.
I think I told you before. There was this guy. I was locked up with a guy. He was from Haiti. He was one of those guys that talk like this. And so I just thought, like, Haitians talk like And so one day I said, hey, do all Haitians talk like this? And he goes, no, they make fun of me there too, dog. I was like, okay.
Well, in Spain there is a dialect though that is, I think, I don't know. The eastern part of Spain has a lisp. That's what they do.
But this guy sounds like I don't know, like a weak frog or something. I don't know.
Por supuesto que ahora mismo el principal problema de las sociedades en la Europa occidental, España, Francia, Italia, Alemania, Holanda, Suecia, es la inmigración islámica que se organiza a través de las mezquitas. En España, en mi país, proliferan las mezquitas ilegales.
Proliferation of illegal mosques.
Preparando una gran mezquita.
Like I said, we have to take religion seriously. This is something, and culture, this is something that the left understands, and this is why they have a major advantage when it comes to politics, because they control so much of the narrative.
What he said right there, I actually noticed this back in the early 2000s as far as people on the left controlling the narrative. I picked this up. Me and Nabil were on the speech and debate team, and you actually go around to competitions. But I noticed that you're talking 90 to 95% of the people who were doing like speech events and so on were like far left. And I was just thinking all the way back then, because I'm not terribly political. If you wanted to. I can't consider myself right or left, although now, because like left went insane left, I would just be right just by being so far from what the left has become. And that's how you ended up with lots of people who 20 years ago they were considered on the left and now they're considered on the right, and even though they've never changed their views. But you would actually have to go like issue by issue and say, okay, David, this is the position of the left, this is the position of the right, which one are you on? And it would kind of be issue by issue. But I noticed even back then, I was like, people on the far left are doing what? They're going into speech and debate, like communications. They're going into communications, how to communicate their views, and they're training to learn how to communicate their views most effectively. Then I mostly learned how to make YouTube videos and so on my own. One time I went and actually took a film class. I went into the film class, and everyone there was far left. I was like, wait a minute, the people training to learn to make documentaries and so it's like a documentary class. The people training to learn this stuff are far left. It's like, I was thinking way back then, like, you guys with other perspectives are in trouble. If all the people on some fringe are the ones that master the ability to communicate their views to the rest of the world, and you guys don't, you're kind of in trouble. And so he's along similar lines right now, that you've got people on one side of the spectrum controlling the narrative. And it's just interesting because they've been training for that for a while. Now they're doing it. And you look at Qatar, and they're training for a future caliphate, but they're thinking like 30 years down the road and so on. Like, what do we need to do in the meantime if we want our caliphate 30 years down the road? Well, let's get our tentacles in everything around the world. Let's get mosques around the world. Let's get tons and tons of Muslims in various places around the world. Let's get control of U.S. universities. Let's get control of banks, grocery stores, everything. I'm not exaggerating. We're about to see this. And then, if we ever get a caliphate, we've already done the groundwork.
If the imam gets his order what to preach about on Friday from the embassies on Thursday, is this freedom of religion as we understand it? This is politics. And if we are talking about politics, we have to deal with it in politics, because what we could monitor, especially also in the last weeks and in the last months in Germany, crowds on the street calling for a caliphate. Okay, I say, if you want to live in a caliphate, there's an easy way. You can pack your luggage and leave into a country where we have caliphates. If you do not like democracy, if you do not like freedom, if you do not like women's rights, if you do not want to respect women, okay, you have the possibility and leave to that such countries. But we do not want to have it in Germany. We do not want to have a caliphate all over Europe.
But you got a problem, dude. They're not trained to have their religion and go mind their own business. They're trained to take over the world until all religion is for Allah alone. That's a command. And so you're saying, why don't you not do what Allah tells you? Just go have your religion and mind your own business and leave us to ourselves. Not how it works in Islam. So you're kind of doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
I'm not interested. This is really a threat to our society.
You think?
Political Islam is enormously organized. Qatar is everywhere. Qatar has conquered Europe. The football teams are full of Qatar, and there are so many people who are attached now to interests of Qatar.
I saw an image the other day which was satirizing this thing. It was photos of 4 different major football teams in Europe. I forgot what it said. But it was like, which side do you support with the Qatar flag? And they all have Qatar sponsors as primary sponsors on their chest.
Nice. Nice. Guys, broken down before, how I pointed out, like when people say, "Is Europe doomed? Is Great Britain doomed?" It might be doomed. It's not a hopeless. When I'm responding to that, I'm saying, is it a hopeless situation? No, you could easily change that if you just got enough people to wake up. The longer you wait, the more you put it off, the more you put things off, the more difficult it's going to be for the generation that actually tries to deal with the problem. Unless you just never deal with the problem, and then Islam will take over. But assuming you're going to get really, really fed up with it, the tipping point is usually the amount of pain and anguish that's going to be caused by doing nothing is actually greater than the pain and anguish of dealing with the problem. Once that happens, then you can actually have some sort of change. Well, think about what Qatar is doing, because it's absolutely brilliant. They're increasing massively the amount of pain dealing with the problem. If you end up with way more mosques and you end up with Arab countries that control everything around you, it becomes far more difficult to deal with the problem. It's going to be much more painful to deal with the problem. And so they're making it so that fewer people are going to want to deal with the problem, or are going to want to take the repercussions of dealing with the problem. And so maybe you put it off more. Maybe you put it off so long that you reach a point where it's too late. That's the goal. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. And what does everyone do? Thank you, Qatar, for funding all this stuff. You're so great. And then very soon, you're not allowed to criticize anything the jihadis on campus are doing, because that'll offend Qatar, and you don't want them to pull their bucks out of your school, right?
Or who are being paid directly or indirectly.
Is it possible to resist the caliphate without violating our own principles of freedom and democracy?
I need to stay with my conservative principles that I'm committed to, which is that we need to have really the freedom of speech. These mosques, that's a different case. That, for example, violence towards some other people is okay. So when it comes to violence, killing, all of that, so that should be banned.
Terms like political Islam soften the reality of what is happening in Islamic infrastructure.
Maybe you have to compromise some of your values in order to deal with some problems like these.
That's the problem, right? That's the problem.
Maybe these values were put in place and established to begin with for European populations, for Western populations. And yes, maybe it works. Maybe freedom of speech, democracy, freedom of choice, all of these things, they work for Western people. They work for those people that they were intended for those civilizations, those cultures that are different from other cultures which don't have those values. Maybe when you deal with an influx from a different culture, maybe it's time to partially compromise some of those values in order to put a halt to to the influx of something horribly intolerant. You can't endlessly tolerate something that is intolerant. It will just end up killing you.
And guys, you can see sort of an issue. So, what was it, 2005? Gaza had elections? Hey, we're going to have freedom and democracy now. Let's have an election. Who did you vote into power? Hamas. And then, guess what? No more freedom and democracy. So, what AP was saying, and this was built into the thinking of the people who did it, it was not, hey, democracy always works. It was not, democracy is the system that all people should have. It's, we have a certain kind of population that has developed to a point where they can now handle freedom responsibly. And they pointed out, if you don't handle the freedom responsibly, if you just use it to do whatever you want, it will break down. The entire system will break down, and you will be controlled either from within or from without. But it got to the point where, so keep in mind, back then, it was a new thing. It was new that we're going to have all this freedom and democracy. It was a new thing. So people back then are like, wow, we've got this new thing. This is awesome. Then a few generations later, people think that that's just normal, that it's just normal. They just, hey, this is completely normal, having freedom and democracy and so on, and all these values. And we have all these values that we share and so on. And so what do we think? We think, hey, let's just spread this around the world. Let's help everybody with that. And then just within our lifetimes, people said, look at the Middle East. They've got all these evil dictators. Let's get rid of the evil dictators like Saddam and give them freedom and democracy. And then what do? You go out and, hey, let's help you get rid of this evil dictator so you can have freedom and democracy. Now we've given you freedom and democracy. What did you get? ISIS. That's who took over. Why? The population was not ready for it. So going to AP's point, what did the people of Gaza do when they had elections? Voted for Hamas. Bye-bye freedom and democracy. What happens after the fall of Saddam Hussein? Well, we tried to build a Western-friendly government, and ISIS takes over, right? So what happens? The people keep going for what they want, and it ain't freedom and democracy. They want Islamic supremacy. That's what they want. And so these are the people you're bringing into Europe and saying, hey, freedom and democracy. Now they're here. They got freedom and democracy. And meanwhile, in their heads, it's everything we're doing right now is for the ultimate goal of Islamic supremacy. And so the question is, can you, as a Westerner, look at that and say, hey, I believe in freedom of speech, freedom of religion, all these things, but this is in a different category. These are not people who want to be part of the system. These are people who ultimately want to overthrow and destroy our system and replace it with their system. Do we treat them the exact same way that we would treat other people who want to be part of our system? That's the big question. And this is what Islam does. It forces you to become something that you do not want to be. That's what it does.
And you don't want to be like Iraq. They didn't call him Saddam Hussein for no reason.
Saddam Hussein.
Structures laid in the West today. If we want to understand our future, we must first understand our past. Islamic law has been the basis of statehood in Europe before, and the Caliphate once extended to the very gates of Vienna and to the Pyrenees. Christians lived under a harsh discriminatory system which banned them from owning printing presses, forced their churches underground, and levied punitive taxes for non-citizens, and certainly did not allow equal political representation for non-Muslims, a bit like Qatar today.
Interesting little side note, guys. Interesting that this Polish guy remembers that. We talk about this quite a bit, that the people in Eastern Europe seem to remember a bit more about Islam because they had to deal with it more recently than, let's say, Great Britain or Scandinavia or something. The people in Eastern Europe, it's still in their memories of dealing with Islam in the past and what it did. And that's why you ask someone from Poland, hey, what's it like? What was it like being under Islamic control? It sucked, and they took away our rights. They wouldn't allow us to speak, and we had to do things underground, and they wouldn't allow us the printing press and stuff. They remember that stuff. You go to someone in Britain, what's Islamic rule? Oh, it's the greatest thing in the world, man. The golden age. It's the golden age of the universe, man. When Islam ruled, it's so great. Because they have no freaking clue what they're talking about, and they listen to their idiot professor at a university funded by Qatar.
Polish were based in history.
Dumb? Yes. Thieves? Yeah. Based? Yes.
Well, they were based before the 20th century, but then things went south.
Not frighten us by itself, but of course there are two more things that should frighten us. One is the interference of foreign countries, so foreign state-level political influence in our countries, in our nations. And second one, maybe more importantly, as I said, the Trinitarian doctrine of political Islam. We should consider political Islam as nothing, not fundamentally different from Nazi ideology, fascist ideology, or communist ideology.
Based. Very, very based, dude. And I think what he's getting at there is they actually have categories for Nazism and so on in certain European countries. Like you can't have a copy of Mein Kampf and so on. You can't buy it in certain places and so on. So they actually cracked down. They don't treat all political ideologies as equal. Nope, your political ideology is dangerous and unacceptable. Sounds like he's saying put Islam in that category. Put Islam in the category of dangerous ideology, which it is indisputable. It is a dangerous political ideology. And I would say, since it's connected, what it's connected to, a religion with 2 billion adherents and so on, more dangerous.
Unfortunately, he says political Islam. It is just Islam. Yeah. And of course, I get it. If you just say Islam,
everyone
everyone starts freaking out and screaming, "Oh no, what did you say?" So saying political Islam might be a little bit safer as a small approach. However, in Germany, for example, Nazi symbolism, Nazi ideas, and so on are treated with very, very much disgust and are outlawed and all that. But if they were consistent, they would apply the same standards pretty much to Islam, or at least political Islam.
All right, so here's the end of the video.
These all are totalitarian ideologies that our countries are trying to keep out of our political lives. Same for political Islam should be valid.
If we want to keep our democracies, our secular enlightenment, and our freedoms, we must not tolerate revealed dogma as a source of...
Wait a minute. Did you see that? What are these Illuminati hand signals he's putting up?
Oh my gosh.
See? This is why they're so smart and they're Polish. We thought they were just smart Polish people, but they're Illuminati. You see?
Tolerate revealed dogma.
Oh, it's so weird. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
As a source of law, must not tolerate violence as a substitute for political negotiation at any level, and we must not allow our democratic institutions to be used by foreign powers to expand their anti-democratic ideology within our own borders.
Cerrar todas las mezquitas islamistas radicales donde se defienda el salafismo o el wahhabismo, cualquiera de esas teorías que son incompatibles con Occidente.
Based.
Well, here's the thing. I'm sitting and listening to this going, these are Polish guys, man. These are Polish guys. And you have to think, were all the jokes I heard as a kid, all these Polish jokes, were all these jokes I heard as a kid just wrong and Polish people are actually smart? Or has the rest of the world become so insanely stupid over the past 30 years that Polish people now seem like geniuses by comparison?
No, it's
in other words, we're talking about you have left and right and so on. And so suppose you're right here. Suppose you're right here, something like this, and then your side just goes completely insane. Well, now you're actually closer to the opposite side and so on. Is it like that where you have an intelligence spectrum, you have a bell curve, and Polish are way over here, they're way over here, on the dumb side of the bell curve, but then the whole bell curve shifts, but they stay in the same spot, and all of a sudden now they're in the genius category. They're in the genius category. Isn't that weird?
No, it's just that Stefan is an exception. That's why.
Oh, okay, you're saying.
Yeah, it's not that complicated.
He's like. So if you have, let's say, a bell curve within Poland, the average IQ would be, let's say, 30. But you have the bell curve, and it goes way out to the side, and he's
30. 30.
What's funny is I don't know what kind of sense of humor Polish people have. I don't know if like we have this ongoing problem of people not understanding when we're joking, when we're just running our mouths and making things up. So we get all these messages out there. Look, I'll never watch you guys again because you did this. Like we're totally.
No, I've always I always had respect for Polish people and Polish culture and all that. It's nice to see that they haven't
one of us.
that they haven't become part of that whole ridiculousness of Western culture where people just become really stupid and go, okay, let's just tolerate everything and anything that's stupid. I guess Poland is a very nice thing. It's like a coming together of Western culture and Eastern European culture. It's kind of it's a very nice blend, a very nice mix of those. So while it looks very much Western, it hasn't been infected with most of the really ridiculously stupid progressivist woke ideas that have ravaged the Western world. And that's a very, very good thing to see. I'm very proud of Visegrad and hope they continue with this mission, which makes me think they've always said forever that they want to work together with us, and this is kind of long in the waiting still.
Smart guys, smart guys. All right, let's go through some super chats, and we're gonna look at where some of this money is going. Is the Turkish Wingling Groyper axis of evil funded by Qatar? Just asking questions. Yeah, well,
Yes.
yeah, we don't know exactly where the funding is coming from, but that would be a good yes.
Yes.
Can you go deeper with the funny voice? It makes everything have more clarity. Like the hospitals that are gone in Gaza is definitely worth your best funny voices.
Are they talking about this voice?
That voice? Can we go deeper?
We don't make funny voices.
Yeah, we're not making funny voices. This is what
This is a
Dawa
serious
guys sound
channel.
like.
This is a serious channel, and it should stay that way.
Does this person think that Sharia
Yes.
is funny? Does this person think that a nation taking over the world by funneling billions of dollars into taking control of the world is funny?
Yes.
Is this a joke?
Yes. Yes.
Think we're just clowns here to entertain you?
Yes.
Yisrael in Hebrew means wrestled with God. Wrestlers in Greek is Palestis. Thus, Palestina is just Greek word literally meaning land of Israelites. You can Google translate it.
That's one theory, but you know what's better? You know what's better?
What?
Israel also means struggle with God. And now think of the common saying, the struggle is real.
Mm-hmm.
The struggle is real.
real.
The struggle is real. The
This is the
struggle.
proof.
The struggle. You
This is
see,
the
this is the proof.
proof.
This is
AP
why Israel should control the entire world. It
That's
just
a good-
shows
that's a good point.
it's the proof.
This is, and I don't know where someone could even object to your airtight logic.
See?
AP is legally required to apologize for 1453 and Constantinople. Yes, he is Turkish. I haven't really held you to account for what your ancestors did.
Ancestors.
Your ancestors.
Uh,
Would you like to apologize for what happened in 1453 and speak on behalf of all Turkish people about giving it back?
yes.
Okay. Well, okay. It's your only chance.
Sorry.
You speak on behalf of all Turkish people. He just apologized, ladies and gentlemen. You just
Sorry.
apologized. Do you
My
agree?
bad.
Do you agree to give it back?
No. Yeah.
AP, you should disregard your emotional doubts of God and focus on the logical basis. We ex-Muslims are afraid to be duped, but extreme skepticism is folly. And you know you can trust this because it's from a channel called Veritas.
It's actually the opposite of what's holding me back.
So you're saying emotionally, you're actually drawn, but as far as your reason and logic, that's your stumbling block.
Yes, and it's kind of painful. I wish it wasn't there.
We can find that part of the brain and cut it out.
I was thinking of that. I ordered some material like scalpel and things like that to experiment with it, but let's see where that goes.
We could get you a one of Elon Musk. What's that thing called? The thing they put in your brain?
Microchip, brain chip, microchip.
No, they got Elon has this thing, the Neuralink. Is it Neuralink? Yeah. We'll get you a Neuralink, and you can just push a button.
Inshallah. Figured out.
Jagoda. Unix says 60-minute documentary on pager plot is interesting. Yeah, I keep planning to watch that at night, and I keep not doing it. Did you watch it yet?
No.
Got to see that. AP, as a former communist, yeah. So apparently, I've seen people comment on it. Apparently, they had the pager thing planned for years. They had that plan in their back pocket for years, and then they just had an opportunity to use it. And then there were all these obstacles to overcome, and so on. And so, how are they gonna add weight to the pagers without tipping guys off? So they advertise them as these super strong and mighty pagers that don't break easily if things get rough. And not so all the all the Hezbollah guys are like, oh, look at these! These are the most based pagers. We will order these. a bunch of dopes fell for it.
The thing, apparently the former Mossad guy also said a phrase that is just going around now among all the conspiracy theorists. Like, you see, they're admitting it very openly. He said something like, "We create a pretend world," and it starts with that, but basically pointing out how advanced their intelligence is and how far forward they plan and how deeply they fool the other side and just have them in their grasp without them knowing it so far in advance and so on. And people are now going on, look, you see, it wasn't a conspiracy, they're admitting now that Jews control the world.
Oh boy, awesome stuff. AP, as a former communist, I thought you might find the Miliant interesting. It's the paper of the Socialist Workers' Party of America. They're Trotskyist Zionists, an exception to the Islamo-Left Alliance. So you have to like them.
No.
Yes,
that's kind of funny. That's funnily interesting. I'll check it out.
Bo Rudder said, we missed your family's Christmas video this year. David, Merry Christmas to you and yours and AP's family too. Do I put out Christmas videos?
Yeah, why didn't you put out your Christmas video this year?
I didn't know I did that. I must have forgot. Contrition for showing Croatia's... I know I have at certain points in the past, but I just think I do that periodically. Contrition for showing Croatia's representatives in the European Parliament, Stipo Bartulika. And Merry Christmas.
Thanks. Thanks, Jagoda.
Croatia's representatives in the European Parliament.
That wasn't the video.
Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah, D. Wood and AP. You're both doing God's work. Yep, even you, AP. That's true. That's the truth.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's the truth. The English, pale vampires with fetal alcohol syndrome who basically made Protestantism popular due to their fat syphilitic king killing his wives.
Syphilitic?
Vampires. You're in the wrong part of the world. I can't even take your comment seriously.
Syphilitic.
You need to go over to Wallachia and so on. Los Ojas son las tierras del Curo. I think that's
Was
the
company
eyes.
just
I think that's
suggesting
the.
that?
I think that's the eyes are the leather strap of the anus in some language. Does that look like it?
I think Kamini just made that up. I don't think Henry VIII had syphilis. So
I think that's a theory about why his sons didn't survive, because that can be connected to having a venereal disease. Armageddon worried. Islam is winning. Armageddon worried. Hey, you actually use it like I did. Armageddon. I came up with this idea years ago, and I've never done anything with it. But Die Hard, because it comes up every year with Die Hard, the greatest Christmas movie ever. But so I noticed that in part 1, in the original Die Hard, he saves the people in a building, and then in part 2, he saves an entire airport, and then in part 3, he saves the city of New York, and then in part 4, he saves the entire United States. I didn't see what happened in part 5, but I know there's something about Russia, so he's saving like Western civilization or something like that. And then so they have to keep escalating. So what would part 6 be? Part 6 would be he's obviously got to save the entire planet from something that's coming. And I was like, oh, that was Armageddon. That was Armageddon. A meteor's about to destroy all life on the Earth and stuff, and he has to go up there. So I was thinking, like, what if that was? I thought about making like a fake movie trailer, and it says, first he saved an entire building, then he made a difference again and saved an entire airport, then he saved us again by saving New York City, then he saved the entire country, then he saved Western civilization. What's next? And then the movie trailer about the meteor coming and stuff like that, and then it hits. Die Hard 6. Armageddon ready to die hard. Armageddon ready to die hard. That's how Tezbot used it. Armageddon worried.
that's a very good idea. You should have put out that video. It could have gotten a lot of, at least 10 views or so.
Someone could still do that. Fake movie trailers are popular for some reason.
Yes.
So anyway, that would be a cool fake movie trailer. And you've got all the clips. You just have to put them all together and make a fake make a voiceover. God forgive me, if Jesus was Palestinian, we would have a bomb to his chest and sent him to be a martyr. That'd be like, no.
If they were really Palestinians, she would have trained him to strap a bomb on himself, and she would have sent him to be a martyr.
I saw a post and I didn't share it because I thought it's a little bit it's a little bit much. But it was, I don't know if you've seen it, but the so-called pretend state of Palestine made a post called a Palestinian family, and it's just it's Mary, Joseph, and Jesus. It just says a Palestinian family, and Jesus is depicted as a baby with a keffiyeh, with a tablecloth on around his neck, and somebody posted a response to it, and it's kind of like iconography nicely, and somebody edited that post and made a response to it and put in iconographic style an AK-47 into the baby Jesus' hand and said, if you want to depict him as Palestinians, at least do it accurately. I wasn't sure if that's a little bit too disrespectful, so I didn't share it.
These are the tough calls we have to make, everyone. These are the tough calls we have to make in our line of work.
But it was quite funny.
AP is eating sevap. But as we all know, these letters have different sounds, and I think the V is it. I think the V is pronounced R, so it's karap.
No, it's actually chivap. Chivap.
Or karap. I'm at the stage where seeing Muslims in my town upsets me. It's the way they represent. Yeah, and that's the thing. You can be. Again, guys, I got into this because my best friend was a Muslim, and his family was super cool and nice and so on. So there are plenty of cool Muslims, but yeah, things tend to change as their numbers get bigger. Michael James says, AP, do you like Mamagoon? My local Turkish restaurant stopped selling it because I was the only one who liked it.
I do like it, depending on who makes it.
Oh, so you know what that is?
It's Turkish pizza.
Oh,
It's like
who's not gonna like any kind of pizza's good?
it's not really like pizza. It's just a pizza-ish Turkish thing. But it's kind
Do
of
you like it? Yes or no?
kind of yes.
Thank you, boys, for what you do. Light is the best disinfectant, metaphorically speaking, to this hateful ideology. Hail Cid, Lionheart, King Baldwin, and Skander Beg in heaven looking at Europe right now. Huh? So I guess our descendants went full retard. Retard. Thank you, Poland. Whiskey. Would Mia Khalifa or Wiz Khalifa be a better caliph? That's a tough call. They both represent different aspects of Islam. Vid on X, an imam in Ireland tells his congregation of non-Muslims. That would how would that ever happen? I can't believe you.
It is totally based.
When will you two do a road trip in Saudi Arabia? To get tourist visa, I did so. Rented car, prayed to Jesus. Outside Vid Mosque in Medina, saw a Marvel movie. Huge cinema in Riyadh with both genders. Actually, given the direction they've been heading, which is to show the world that they've changed and they're not radical anymore, it's kind of a possibility in the future of actually going there. Because on the one hand, you had people like Zakir Naik actually advising Muslim nations that they should keep a database. He called it a data bank. We should keep a data bank on these people who are speaking of Islam. And then if they ever swap to any Muslim country, they should be taken and arrested. Right? So he's saying you could actually sentence critics of Islam to death by keeping a database of people who've criticized Islam on social media. And then if they ever show up to your country for any reason, you're a Muslim country, you can have them arrested and so on. So there are concerns that they'd kind of be waiting on you. But I'd be willing to take this risk. I'd be willing to take a risk like, oh, come on, I'll go there. And if you lock me up or lash me or something like that, that would kind of, I mean, it'd be up to you. If you want to show that you're genuinely not going to go that route with people, great. Then D Wood and AP should be able to come up and check out the new boxing match in Riyadh or something like that. But if you want to grab me and lash me and lock me up for 10 years, then I'll take that. I'll take that for exposing you. I'll take that trade.
I don't buy it.
Huge cinema with both genders. Yep. Oh, the times they are a changing. Searching Deeper says churches. What?
I might go if there's another Iggy Azalea concert in Saudi Arabia. I might go to
yeah. If Iggy Azalea is going to be on stage with her butt bouncing up and down while she sings "Worship the Goddess," we will go just to record. We will go just to record the audience and.
Under the condition that this time the concert takes place in Mecca.
Got to be in Mecca, and she's got to be on top of the Kaaba, twerking, making it shake.
That'll be funny, man.
Churches in the West need. That's the direction they're going. I mean, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, hey, what do you think of the odds of Iggy Azalea twerking on stage and singing "Worship the Goddess" in Riyadh? I'd be like, no, not going to happen. Wrong.
I know. When I saw it, I was honestly surprised because. As a Muslim, that would have been unbelievable to me. It would have also been extremely offensive to me. And without seeing it, I would have never believed it. It's strange.
That happened. I mean, it was just a few years ago that women got the right to drive there. And this is how far they changed this quickly. You wonder, what are things going to be like another 5 or 10 years from now? Is there going to be a backlash against that, and they change going in that, or are they going to sort of stop, like at this level? I don't know. But I want to know. I want to see it. Churches in the West need to community. Muslims are now reachable. True. No longer locked away in dangerous countries. True. Politics can't solve this. Only revival. Yeah, politics can deal with very short-term problems. Islam, you need you need to change a lot of people's minds on a lot of things. And yes, you are correct. For 14 centuries, your average Muslim was in a Muslim community. You were almost completely unable to reach that person. If you showed up and you started telling him why Islam is wrong, you're going to lose your head very quickly. And now we can communicate with Muslims in Muslim countries through the internet. And you have tons of Muslims who are living in the West, and they're on college campuses and so on. And so you have open access now to people that you did not have open access to for 14 centuries. Christians should be looking at this as the greatest time in history to reach Muslims with the gospel, and not be, oh no, we're all doomed, we're all doomed. What are you talking about? You just got the opportunity for the greatest period of evangelizing. Oh no, look, politics. Get out there and preach. Quit being babies.
It takes a lot of time for cultures to change. I don't know how to say this because it sounds kind of controversial, however I say it. But
don't say anything controversial on this show. Don't do it.
If you have if you have one person or two people who find their way and knowingly and willingly on their own accord convert to Christianity from Islam, for example, it is probably very likely that the person doing that is going to be somebody who is quite detached from Islamic culture and all that, and is ready and willing to change, and possibly is already different in culture from other Muslims. However, if you have massive populations of people from Muslim cultures that are very, very much not very pleasant cultures, they still have their cultural aspects with them, even if they convert to Christianity. While they may change their ways slowly, many of them will still carry the messed up Islamic culture that they come with. So I don't know. Just converting them to Christianity, of course, would be an interesting development. However, a better solution would always be to just rearrange populations and convert those who want to, or something like that.
The correct answer, ladies and gentlemen, is deal with it in every sane way that you have. So you should be electing politicians who are going to be smart and not idiots. You should be watching news sources